Hi everyone, welcome to Orators Club Mic Check. We're here with Gaurika today. She
Hello.
is the Vice President of EconSoc. Welcome Gaurika, we're very happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Mike Check's a very creative name. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Uh, so, uh, like, uh, a lot of people are coming in. We have econ as a major. That is,
Mm-hmm.
like majority of the people end up taking econ at Ashoka. So we wanted to have a talk with you regarding econ at Ashoka. So my very
Sure.
first question to you is, how would you describe economics at Ashoka in one sentence? If you had to like put it into one sentence, what would you, put it as?
Okay. It might sound a bit too basic and cliche, but I think it's just interdisciplinary, and I would like to explain it a bit more. In fact, if you really want to make sense of it, just go and watch any of the thesis presentations that will be happening, and you'll
Damn.
realize that a lot of the research ideas and a lot of the content that all these students and ultimately even economists end up delving into are nothing to do with money, or nothing to do with wealth, or anything at all related to income levels and anything monetary. It's actually real world problems and behaviors that they sort of deal with. So it always has some or the other intersection with disciplines like psychology, like
Right.
sociology, behavioral related stuff. So that's what economics had turned out to me at Ashoka. Like, in any kind of elective, or even in the basic core courses that I've delved into in my economics degree at Ashoka, I found that interdisciplinariness in the sort of papers we've read, in the sort of presentations we've done, and I think that's very core to economics at Ashoka. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I.
like you said, like I think what's great about Ashoka is that it really like doesn't like limit you to one specific field. Like if I've taken econ, I just don't have to stick to econ. I can,
One
play around
hundred
with
percent.
combinations. And I feel like with econ, there's two majors that are like, one versus the other. You have politics, philosophy, and economics, PPE, and you have
One
economics and
hundred percent.
finance. So I just wanted to understand, have you taken PPE or economics and
No, I'm
finance?
taking economics and finance.
Okay, and
Yes.
was that decided, or did you figure that out
Oh,
along the way?
wasn't it I decided at all. I got into Ashoka thinking I'll pursue mathematics.
Oh
And I
wow.
even started doing a bunch of mathematic courses here. But then I realized that econ at university level is more mathematics than mathematics in its own degree. And I thought, so that is when I decided to switch. And I think I've never regretted that decision in my life. I loved studying economics at Ashoka. And I think it's a very creative subject.
Yeah.
A lot of people might think that economists try to like break everything down into a box. I sort of tend to disagree to that. I think economists have a really good way of like breaking be, even subjectivity into a logical sense, like if that makes sense. Like, so that is why I love the subject. That if you look at the discipline from outside, you'd see that okay, it's a lot of common sense related stuff, or very that's what at least a lot of my friends call economics to be. Like, it's extremely obvious at times, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, if you look at how mathematicians and economists have dealt with the subject, they try to break it down in such a logical and sort of creative way that it just blows your mind. So, which is why I also chose economics. I think it blends in mathematics, abstract thinking very beautifully, and the creativity of mathematics also. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I do agree with that. The fact that econ at university level has a lot of math into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel like it's a requirement for non-math students to take up calculus
Mm-hmm.
to in order to like pursue economics,
Correct.
even if they don't have a math background. So, are there any other requirements like for people watching and who want to pursue econ at Ashoka? Are there any other requirements,
Right.
or is taking up calculus if you don't have math the only eligibility criteria?
I think the eligibility criteria is only mathematics, but from like a subjective point of view, something that has sort of helped me in my econ degree is read other disciplines as well. I think dealing with psychology on the side has helped me a lot, because
Wow.
at the end of the day, it's study of behavior than money or wealth. I also carried this book along with me. I was like, I'll bring
Wow.
it up at some point in the interview, because it says it's like the 50 economics classics, and it breaks down some of the like great things that
Damn.
economists have said. So one of the things that one of the writers also says is that economics has nothing to do with wealth. It's basically a study of the man. So, and when you're dealing with man as an entity, you need to be sort of aware of the kind of society you live in, the kind of mental parameters that go on behind making decisions. So I think that sort of thinking is extremely important to build when you're studying economics, because it is that one discipline that is that is the farthest from not being associated with reality.
Correct.
Like, if you want to be a good economist, a good policy maker for that matter, you need to sort of place everything, your models, your assumptions, etc., in what is actually happening in the real world. So I think math is one side that helps you sort of prove your arguments better. Like, it'll help make sense of the logic and explain it to people when they come up to you and question stuff. But that's not the end all and be all, because you need to be a bit more creative than that, a bit more aware than that. So come out of your textbooks. That's what Ashoka has taught me. Like, textbooks would only take you so far, but it's always your thinking, always your questions
Yeah.
that'll take you beyond the classrooms.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think Ashoka really does teach you how to think, like
Yeah,
people put it. Is behavioral economics something that you're into, or like is there a branch of economics?
100%. I behavioral economics, actually, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to take the behavioral economics elective because of some or the other overlap with an elective that I really wanted to take, especially the finance ones. I think they happened in the same semester, so I didn't end up taking it. But in terms of like in terms of like any sort of presentation or content that I've dealt with, I think ultimately at the end of the day, uh, it had sort of narrowed down to the concept of behavior in some or the other sense. I don't think you can take out behavior from
Right,
economics,
completely.
because that is what governs decisions. And again, one more thing that I think is, you think of behavior in a very rational and logical sense, but then once you study economics and you look at all these different philosophers and thinkers that have come across throughout centuries, you realize that even logic is very subjective, and even logic cannot be very singular. So that is why when you're studying economics, you study logic and behavior together. So it's extremely interrelated to psychology, I think. I think I'm repeating the same thing, but I really find it very fascinating.
That's lovely. But you said that you could not, take up behavioral economics as
Yeah,
an elective because of, clashes with the finance electives. So just wanted to get a sense of like what are some core courses that you have done,
correct. Okay.
that you would, sort of like your favorite core courses and
Hmm.
courses that have just, changed your thinking or like helped you think a certain way, or
Okay.
what are
Interesting.
those courses looking like?
So there have been courses. So the one thing with pursuing an economics and finance degree is that there are two sides to the coin. Like, one side of it, the econ side of it, would
Correct.
really push you into thinking, would really
Right.
push you into getting creative and not sort of accepting whatever the previous thinkers have said and come up with your own ideas. Like, even if you go into an elective class, I'm sure one or the other class will sort of ask you to come up with a research proposal, and that will allow you to sort of look at the existing literature and come up with your own ideas. But then there's the finance side of things, which sort of asks you to take that, okay, these are the kind of formulas that have already come about, and now it's mostly about practice. Now it's mostly about applying those concepts again and again and again and refining those with practice and seeing which one works better, which one proves things better, etc. So I think one develops your thinking, the other one develops your practice. So I think both kind of courses have sort of helped me in very different ways, but have helped me nonetheless. I think the econ courses that have really helped that thinking aspect is, one is public economics. I'm pursuing it right in the semester. Then another one that really excited me was development econ. I think it really destroyed my grade.
Wow.
But one good thing that came out of it was that I developed some great nuances when it comes to thinking and how policymakers sort of approach the ideas of development. And how we did it was the professors teaching style, which is that he'll come into class and he'll sort of teach via slides, and at the end of the day he'll ask us to go over papers. Like the most
Wow.
amount of learning that came out of the course was out of reading a lot of papers,
That seems intense.
something that I would have never done had it been on me. But that is what the course asked to do, and just reading so much perspective about policy, about economics, sort of enhances your thinking, and that is, I think, also the point of college. So that is what helped me. That is why I say development econ is a very good one. And public econ, I say, because right now we're studying how different kinds of taxes exist across the world to achieve different kinds of motivations, and how some might be good to achieve certain kinds of objectives. It can very obvious might seem, but that's like economists would just break it down logically for you in a mathematical sense, that okay, yes, this makes sense logically. So public econ is a very good one. I could even give a few great examples that my professor has sort of brought in the form of anecdotes in the
Wow.
classroom. So that makes it extremely interesting when it's very, very applicative. So any course, any elective, and I'd suggest that to every person, that sort of ties your econ theory to the real world. Like you have that shopping week, right, where you can
Right.
go and look at courses. I think you'll be able to pick out those courses in a glance, because the professor would sort of integrate the learning always to like some or the other real world scenario. Like the slides in itself will make a difference to you when you're going into these classes. Like they won't seem very theoretical. So take up those courses, take up the courses that tie your theory to the textbook to actual real world stuff, and professors that just teach you in general how like the world works. Because
Mhm.
when I took public econ, I genuinely did not know how different kinds of taxes work, how what different kinds of policy exist out there. So that made me just generally more aware as an individual, as a citizen. So all these kind of courses are extremely important in college, and econ sort of helped provide that by its very nature. So that was good. And when it comes to the finance bit of things, I really enjoy finance courses because I'm through and through a CBSE student. Like I love having my formulas. I love and as I also said, I started off doing as a math
Math.
major. So I love solving questions. So that side of finance, I think you'll really find a lot of courses. One more was monetary theory, but I think it's more finance than econ. So Professor Ergo also teaches monetary theory. That's a very interesting course.
Monetary
Then
theory.
international finance, I'm taking this semester.
Oh, how's that?
It's extremely rewarding. I don't think I've studied so much of application of economics in finance ever since school. I think school women, I'd studied national income accounting, but ever since I came into Ashoka, a lot of it became more developmental, more public, more policy stuff. But this particular course was like the heart of finance and econ. Like
Well,
that,
actually,
it's the heart of econ and finance as a major. So
mhm,
international finance has been one of the best courses to
I'm
have to
sure.
learn applicative economics and finance. So there's that. Yeah.
Wow. So we've spoken about a few courses. So if you had to give a tag, like
Yeah.
a favorite course, like the most favorite course, and
Not
since you're
least.
graduating,
Okay.
I'm sure you've done a lot. Okay, maybe not least. So can you give
Yeah.
me like your top 3 courses that you feel like have really, really shaped your
Right.
econ
Okay.
at Ashoka?
Hmm.
Not just econ,
Interesting.
econ and finance. Just
Econ
like
and
the whole,
finance.
like if you had to give some tags,
Okay.
what are we picking? I'm sure international finance makes the top 3.
Oh, 100%. But I'm just thinking if it's just like recency bias and I'm doing it this semester and I've forgotten all the other courses that I've studied so far. But I think monetary theory was also a lovely one. I enjoyed it through and through. Any course by Professor Erko, I think he just makes the classes so much more interesting.
Yeah.
So monetary theory is of course one, then international finance is one more, and I think I'll say public economics.
Wow.
Yeah, public economics
Yeah.
is, I think, at the heart of public policy,
Yeah.
and it teaches you a lot.
I'm sure everyone will like want to take up these courses. I'm very, very intrigued to take up international finance.
Yeah.
I think it sounds really like stimulating and like
It
I
is
feel like
very.
yeah.
And so when you go about, so right now the world is all about investing and stuff,
Correct.
and everybody would go about talking about stocks, etc. But there would also be like a big chunk of circle that will bring up your forex rates and all that. They'll say, okay, now it's much more globalized. Let's try to think of returns in a more global sense and all of that. So, in order to be at par with what's happening in the world right now, I think it'll help you a lot. Like, it'll just, like, even if you don't go into like extreme depth of the subject, just basic awareness about how foreign exchange rates work, how actually just traders go about making these very basic decisions, will sort of broaden your perspective on so many things, and it'll only open the ambit for you to sort of take up and invest in different kinds of opportunities.
Yeah. What about, like I feel like the general perception coming like
Yeah.
into Ashoka is like, oh, like, people like if you don't know someone's major, you'll just automatically guess that they're an econ major because
That is true.
everybody starts off like people who also don't know what they want to do just end up doing econ.
That is true. You know, one of the activities that we were given at Sopan, which is like the one thing that
Yeah, the
Jazba does.
treasure.
Yes, the
Yeah,
treasure hunt
hunt
that
in
Sopan
O week.
does. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I think Jazba does it in the O week, was to go about finding a math major, because those were the rarest of the breed, and the easiest one was to go about finding like an economics and
Yeah,
finance
like
major.
literally everybody. I think in our batch as well. I think we have about 800, 850 students, and I think
Right.
I think 60 to 80%. I'm not sure of the
That
numbers
is
exactly, but
insane.
make up
Insane.
like the economics chunk. But everybody, like I said, like thinks that they want to do econ, but really when they start doing the courses, they realize the rigor of it.
Yeah.
So just to get an understanding, like do you think the rigor in your first year, because
Oh,
in
the
your second
rigor
year,
hits in second year.
yeah, I've heard it's the worst, like macro
Yeah.
stats all coming in together.
I think all of it coming together, and it's also, I think, there's a lot of learning that happens
In your second year.
In your third year, it's mostly about you navigating and coming up with your own proposals, because
Yeah.
it ends up being electives, and a lot of research has already happened in these very core econ areas. So now the professors want you to sort of use your own thinking and come up with your own things. So second year is the foundational year, and it's always the foundational year.
Second year is really intense. I've heard.
It is intense, but I'd say if you go to classes and if you sort of engage with the material on your own as well, that has sort of helped me a lot. Like, I've not only relied on classes, I've been extremely diligent with my
Officers.
officers, and also self-study.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think college sort of reduces that space for you to self-study. It sort of makes it more about that, okay, whatever you're grasping the class, engage in external activities, is more about your entire personality developing, etc. But I also think that it's a lot to do with self-study also, because you'll be bombarded with information, and until and unless you sit down and make
take
sense
that in, yeah, right.
of that information, you're going to lose out. Because
Yeah.
I tried doing this. I was
It
like,
does
okay,
get.
I'll attend all the classes, then I'll go to all my societies, and then I'll only study, say, 2-3 days before the exam, and I'll be fine because I've attended all the classes. But you need to realize that you're studying 3 core courses of economics, bombarding you with subjects and concepts you've never heard of. So you need to practice. You need to like sort of take out that time for yourself to let it sink in, and then go to your exams, and then you're sorted. Like, that's what I've realized, that once you've spent that amount of time self-studying, even say for like half an hour or an hour a day, just going over whatever is done in that class of yours in that particular day, it helps a lot. It really helps.
I'm sure. I think staying consistent really is the
Yeah.
way to go about econ at Ashoka.
It is. It is.
So if I'm a student who doesn't know anything about econ at Ashoka, so essentially in my first year, I would have to take up math for econ and intro to econ as my
Correct.
core courses. Then second year would be followed by micro, macro 1 and stats.
Correct.
And then second year, your second sem, that is technically your fourth sem, would be part 2 of all of those.
Part 2 of all of those, and econometrics.
And econometrics. And how is
Yes.
that?
Oh my God, econometrics. I don't. Yeah, I can see Keshav laughing from behind the camera, but okay. Econometrics. I think I'm in my fourth year and I've still not made sense of the subject.
Oh,
And
wow.
every single time I have to come up with a regression equation, call back home. And both my parents have studied economics. Actually, no, my dad studied finance. My mom has studied economics. And I tell them that it's been 4 years and I can still not make sense of econometrics. And is this really like, am I doing something
That
wrong?
sounds like
And
a nightmare.
And she's like, that's just econometrics. That's not a skill issue. That's just that's just a subject issue. So just flow with it. I think econometrics is one thing. Just flow with it. But I think a lot of people do get a hang of it. I think I've not gotten a hang of it yet because I'm more on like the mathematical and finance side of things at
Oh,
times.
so econometrics would be on what side of?
I think it's used in both,
Okay.
but it's used mostly when people are coming up with their more research ideas. It's
Okay.
used a lot in policy. It's used a lot in the development space. Of course, finance has sort of these very specific regression equations
Right.
that they've already come up with, and you sort of use the same ones.
Yeah, it's like very
Studying the same thing
mechanical.
again and again. But when it's about coming with your own regression equations,
That
and sort
sounds
of
intense.
using stata, that is when it gets a bit complex. And the thing
Oh.
with Ashoka is that they expect you to know stata really well going into your electives, but you've not sort of had that kind of foundation laid, at least for stata, in your second year. Like for everything else, the foundation's laid, but for stata, I think that's something you really need to go about navigating your way yourself.
Okay.
Like there are so many workshops that keep happening around stata, so make sure to attend those. I never attended those.
Stata, what is?
Stata is the coding language that
Okay.
people at Ashoka use.
So we have workshops for this coding language.
A lot of
Okay.
societies do it, and a lot of individuals who pursue thesis, etc., brought in to sort of teach stata. So it's very important to go to these workshops or sort of do your own research around stata, because college, at least Ashoka may till now, I haven't found any single professor that sort of teach you the basics of stata and will handhold you through the
Yeah.
process, because stata is one thing you learn from scratch. Like you
Yeah.
don't know coding at all. So you'll have to find the right resources to learn it.
Okay, I'm sure that our audience must be watching this, and I think they will have it much easier than
I hope
you
so.
had
I
it.
really hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You are a part of EconSoc, like
I
you're
am.
vice president of EconSoc. Of course, you're a part of it.
Yeah.
So, how has that journey been, and how has that really shaped, your idea of econ at Ashoka?
I think it has shaped my idea a lot. And it shaped my econ journey in the sense it made me realize again once more at every corner I've realized that econ is so much more than the textbook. Like I came into Ashoka thinking I'll stick to my textbooks and all of that, but then when it comes to engaging with these academic societies, you realize that the academic side of it is so much more broader, because you interact with individuals who come in as speakers, get to talk to them. Then you also host your academic competitions, and you realize okay, so much of academic thinking is gone into just games and competitions and like creative events, like
Right.
social events. So it's just that. So I think, and I think in particular, economic society has shaped me a lot, because the vastness and the size of the society is so huge that by its very nature you will come across so many different kinds of individuals. And by that I don't mean that I'm meeting a lot of majors or like having a lot of conversations about different kinds of disciplines, etc. Is a lot to do with personalities, like how people work with one another, the kind of different working styles they have, the kind of general conversations that end up being in circles, and just how to be a more curious person.
Correct.
And just make your own identity amidst all this as well. I think that EconSoc has really helped me with, because firstly I think you meet a lot of people, and secondly there are like 11 verticals, or maybe
Wow.
I always get this wrong. I always get it wrong. I was asked this during my core interview for my presidentship, and I always forget how many verticals are there in the society. But yeah, there's so many verticals, so you end up engaging with one or the other at some point in time. I've been a part of the SOC for 3 years, and I've engaged. I started off with podcast.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I started off with podcast. Then I went on to, of course, I became the head of podcast only, but I was extremely involved in the fest that we do. So I got to engage with events, I got to engage with other clubs, I got to engage with speakers, everything. And then I became the vice president, and that just like leveled up like anything. That too is like interacting with all verticals, all people, everything. So that sort of shaped, of course, me as an individual. And as a speaker, I think podcasting really helped me when I got into econsoc, because as a person, I was very I think that's what a CBSE sort of an education grills into you, that you're not very comfortable with asking questions, not very comfortable also being a listener, because you're so straightforward, you're so set up on the kind of ideas that you have once you come into college, very restrictive and not like, no, not very flexible with your own thinking. But when you go about talking to people in very, in an academic sense, in a setting that you're actually, as a part of the role, are supposed to be curious and ask questions, you sort of you sort of build that quality. Like,
Yeah.
in the beginning it might seem like, okay, I've been forced to do research about the guest and I've been forced to ask questions to them. But once you do that enough, you realize that, okay, how much fun of an activity being curious really is. Like,
Yeah.
it's so much more boring to just stick to one side of things and your own opinions, and just be that rigid with your thinking. So just be curious. So that's what one more thing that econsoc and podcasting helped me with.
Wow, that's lovely. You mentioned econsoc, does a lot of events and like hosts multiple speaker sessions. So,
Correct.
could you give us an idea of what these look like what kind of events and
100%.
what kind of speaker sessions do we have here?
Right. I think they've had all kinds of speaker sessions and speakers that you can think of. They had Raghuram Rajan for an online talk 2 years back for the fest, which is Equilibrium. They also had the chief economic advisor present at this year's edition. Then we also had Monica Halan, who is one of the people who wrote this book. I'm forgetting the name of the book. It's about money and how individuals such as us in college can start off investing early and
Wow.
finance and do planning and stuff. So from extremely academic and extremely high policy stuff to something as as obvious and applicative for a college student as financial advice. I think there's been an ambit of
That's
speakers that
lovely.
we've had, and a lot of, yeah, I think that's about it. About the speaker sessions, a lot of creative people have come on the podcast. Actually, I think in the podcast we hosted a Nobel laureate whom we talked to about game theory, because he's the
Wow.
person who is really, I think, come up with asymmetric games, if that's what it's called. But he's a pioneer, he was a pioneer in the field, so we interacted with him. Then we also hosted Professor Prachi Mishra. We also hosted, I think, couple of we hosted the CEO of Hindustan Unilever Foundation, which has nothing to do
Wow.
with economics. But when you go and talk to the CEO about it, he sort of explains how much of an economic thinking goes behind philanthropic work as well, because you're working with limited budgets and you have to find the right balance to achieve the kind of maximum impact. So there's that. So I think economics is everywhere, and that's what speaker sessions have sort of made me realize. Like, you can sort of reach out to anybody and talk to them about economics.
That's lovely. What sorts of you mentioned a lot of like, it's so vast, like
Yeah,
the kind of exposure you're getting by being a part of such things.
correct.
It's lovely, really. So, like, what would you say? Does like do like students get to like get a idea of
Mm-hmm.
research? Does it help with internships? What is
Right.
that
This
looking
kind of
like?
exposure to
Yeah.
societies, 100%. Because as I said, that being in a non-academic setting such as society um, will get you exposed to a lot of people firstly, and you'll learn to work in teams, but at the same time also learn your own sort of personality and working styles along the way. So when you're sitting for all these interviews and stuff, and you have to explain um, who you are as an individual. You can't do that until and unless you've like spent that ample amount of time engaging with your own ideas, your own opinions, and also those of others. Like, and it's also going to give you a lot of these different kinds of experiences. Like, I've been asked in my interviews about different kinds of leadership experiences I've had, or different all these HR questions that you receive in your internship interviews, about how you would go about navigating, say, a conflict, or say somebody pressing their opinion on you, etc. So when you're working in sort of a practical setting in college, you're basically preparing yourself for the real practical real world that
Wow.
happens outside college, because this is like this is like a mini internship into the
Mm-hmm.
real world, when you're exposing yourself to people. Because as I said, that college is about getting out of the textbook, and societies are the best way to do it, like the
Exactly.
safest way to do it, because that is where you can learn. That is where the stakes are not that high.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, what sorts of internships have you done in your four
Okay.
years at Ashoka, and how have they helped you to get an idea of like
Correct.
the real world and stuff like that?
Um, I've done a lot actually, because that's been the one thing with me, that I'm never able to decide what I'm liking. So I end up pursuing almost anything and everything at times. So I started off, my first internship was with an industrial chamber, which is called ASOCHAM. So it was at the intersection of public policy and the corporates that public policy deals with. So you
Wow.
have companies like Google, Microsoft, etc. on one hand, and then you have the policy makers on the other hand, who are trying to create, say, digital bills, or cyber security policy, etc. So there's this industrial chamber in the middle that will sort of interact with both the parties and act as a mediator between the two. So that was the first role that I had in my first year. I learned a lot. I really, really learned a lot in that, because I was dealing with, again, policy and the direct stakeholders. So the
Was this
perspective that I learned, the kind of perspective that both the parties are, both of them are logical, both of them are making sense. So how do you arrive at the reasonable conclusion? Like, sort of learn mediation and negotiation there. So that was very interesting. You were saying something.
yeah, was this public policy internship after you had taken up your course that you spoke about econ with
Public
uh
economics.
yeah.
Public economics I'm doing this semester.
Oh, okay,
So I,
okay.
I was like a novice. I'd just done intro to econ and some foundation courses, of course, in my first year when I did the internship. So I was, which is why I think it was a great place to learn, because there was so much of listening and so much of hearing perspectives. Because that at that age you don't have any perspective of your own, so you just need people to tell their ideas to you. So that's a good thing I think I did in my first year.
Yeah.
Then second year, what was my second year? Second year was Niti Aayog.
Oh, wow.
So Niti Aayog was again interesting. I worked on a research report there. I got access to a lot of confidential material there. They gave me their reports, and I had to develop my own research there. So I think that was again my internships have also sort of followed that arc of me hearing perspective first, building that foundation first, and then sort of applying that into my own research. Like what econ as a discipline in Ashoka also offers. Like you do core econ courses, you develop the foundation, and then in electives you come up with your own ideas. So even in internships, that's been the case. I've sort of developed. I sort of got that opportunity in my first year to work with a lot of people. And then in my second year, I worked on my own research report in my Niti Aayog internship. And in third year, I worked at Spencer Stewart, which was completely different from any of the two internships that I've done, because it was HR consultancy and leadership consultancy. But that was where I learned the heart of data analytics, because I was working, like I learned making pivot tables on the internship. And it was so much fun. Like I was working with data, and I was also coming up with my own insights out of that data by doing so much of by sort of dealing with things that I thought were the farthest from data. Like I realized that data is everywhere, not just in policy, like not just in macro level heavy decision making. If you go about thinking about HR recruitment, even they use data to the very core. Like the kind of things that the kind of research that I was doing was that, say, how many percentage of companies hire an external for a particular job, or they hire somebody from within the company. Like data is everywhere for every sort of
Very
backing
true,
that you
very
need to
true.
do. So that was another learning that I had in my third year. And then sort of now I've been placed, so I'm going to Bangalore
Wow,
for a job in AI product. So that's a
lovely.
completely different thing that I'm doing now. Like it's a product company. So I'm curious about where this one's gonna take me. It's at the heart of AI. It's at the heart of product making, which has nothing to do with what I've done so far. So there's that.
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a very good, you know, new field for you to
Very.
explore.
I hope so. I really hope so.
So you're in your fourth year, I think,
Yeah.
graduating in another week or two.
Yeah.
So your journey has come to an end.
Yeah.
So
Or
how?
sort of it's starting now.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's starting.
my bad. Your journey at Ashoka is coming to an end.
Yeah,
So
it
how
is.
how are those feelings?
It's actually interesting because I'm sort of also thinking of extending my stay at Ashoka, and I haven't talked about it a lot right now. But Ashoka is also offering masters in economics and data analytics
Oh
now.
wow.
So I'm also sort of talking to people around me and just trying to get a hang of what this new program is about. It's a 1 year program,
Okay.
so I don't know if it's over yet or not, but I
We'll
think
find
I've had
out.
enough of Ashoka. I
Since when
think
is Ashoka offering that program?
I
Like
think that
this
just
year onward?
this year. So the
Okay.
incoming cohort will be the first one, like the 2026 cohort will be the first one, and a lot of I think it's the new education policy that is bringing that sort of change in. The DU colleges have sort of already started bringing in the 1 year master's program because the 4 year degree has become the norm now. And earlier, the degrees used to be 3 years and you do the
Yeah.
2 year master's. So now that you're doing the fourth year inherently, they sort of want to build on the foreign system of doing 1 year master. So that is why a lot of people are also pursuing masters quickly and then sitting for government jobs and stuff, because you need that eligibility,
Correct.
because you can't sit for government jobs till the time you have a master's degree. So there's that. Um so what was I saying? I forgot.
Yeah, no, just your like 4 years
Oh
and
yeah,
like
the
the
four
fifth
years in
year.
Ashoka, they're wrapping up. I don't think I've sort of wrapped my head around it. Because there was a lot of happening in my fourth year. I don't think at least I did not know of anybody who was in a core of a society in their fourth year. Like it's usually in the third year
Yeah.
that you become a
Fourth year
part
is
of the
very
core.
placement
It's just
focused.
placement
Yeah.
focus. But I was sort of everywhere in my fourth year. Like I was doing core work, like econ soc work, then I was also doing placements, and I was also doing TA ships, and I was also studying. So it was everything.
Wow.
Like it was everything. So I think it's gonna take me some time to see that, okay, 1 week at a time, everything is sort of coming to an end. Like first economic society ka fest wrapped up, and then studies will sort of start wrapping up, placement wrapped up. So it's gonna sink in some time.
Wow, that's lovely. I think you've had a very rewarding econ journey at
I
Ashoka.
think so. I think so.
Uh,
I'm very glad. I'm very grateful.
yeah, I wish you all the best for your internship in Bangalore.
Yes. Oh no,
Not
I'm going to
internship,
place.
sorry,
Yes.
placement. I'm sorry. I'm still in the internship zone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Amazing.
thank you so much for talking to us. It was lovely, getting all these insights.
Yes.
And I'm sure that it would help a lot of people in deciding their trajectory at Ashoka.
I really hope it does.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's going to figure out things for themselves. I think
Yeah.
podcasts is great. Podcasts are great to hear different kinds of opinions, but at the end of the day, you should go about navigating your own path, your own interests, etc. Like don't just take up anybody's journey and try to fit that into your own, because that will sort of complicate matters for you. So just like go out, just explore stuff. Like it's a fun ride to be on.
That's lovely. Any parting thing that you want to leave the audience with?
Parting thing, I don't know.
Just to figure out your own journey.
Yeah, I think I'd like to end with that. Just like experiment a lot.
Yeah.
Like really experiment a
Yeah,
lot. You're not going to regret it. And just don't take anything to your heart. Like don't take not getting into clubs and societies to your heart. Don't take not getting marks at your heart, because you're sort of collecting all these experiences in Ashoka in your college. So nothing is that big. Nothing is that deep.
Nothing
as
is that
Ashoka
deep.
like to call it. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. It was lovely, lovely, lovely talking to you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Wishing you all the very best.
You too. You
Thank
too.
you so much.
Okay.